World of Warcraft has around 17,000 unique weapons, and they range from trash drop greys to iconic and powerful purples. But among them all, one tier of weapons stands above the rest, the elusive legendary weapon. Over 20 years and across 11 expansions, there are only 11 of these legendary weapons still available in retail. I mean, technically there are like 200 plus pieces of legendary gear because of Legion and Shadowlands, but those aren't very cool or unique, so I'm not counting them. Anyways, I've played WoW pretty casually for basically as long as I've been alive, and I have exactly 0 of these legendary weapons on my account. So I decided I'm going to change that. I'm going to try and collect all 11 of these legendaries, and I'm going to do it completely by myself. Now, you may wonder what I mean when I say by myself. Obviously these legendaries are soulbound and can't be shared across accounts, and it's not like you need help running legacy content nowadays, but many of these legendaries, especially the earlier ones, need to either be crafted or require a lot of reagents during their unique quest lines. So for example, let's say I need 50 thorium bars for a legendary item's questline. A normal person would just buy a 20-year-old crafting reagent from the auction house, but not me. If I need 50 thorium bars, I'm gonna have to hit the mines, and if I don't have a high enough level in the profession to do that, I'm gonna have to grind that out myself as well. So without further ado, let's start with trying to get one of the first legendary weapons WoW ever had, Sulfuras, the Hand of Ragnaros. Obtaining Sulfuras has 2 requirements, the Eye of Sulfuras and the Sulfuron Hammer. Now, the Eye is pretty straightforward. It's a rare drop from the final boss of Molten Core, Ragnaros the Firelord. So for that one, we just have to run the raid over and over again until we can get it to drop. The Sulfuron Hammer, on the other hand, is something we are going to have to craft ourselves. So let's look at the requirements for that. The hammer requires quite a few reagents, and 3 almost maxed out classic professions, those being blacksmithing, mining, and alchemy. Reagents wise, we'll need 8 sulfuron ingots, which are a common drop from the Golemag boss in Molten Core. Next up, we'll need 20 dark iron ingots, which are pretty simple, just requiring we mine and smelt 160 dark iron ore, which spawns often in Molten Core and Blackrock depths. Then we'll need to get 25 essence of fire, 10 blood of the mountain, 10 lava cores, and 10 fiery cores. These are just zone drops from the trash mobs inside Molten Core, and since we're gonna have to run it so many times, I don't think we'll have to go out of our way to farm these. But last, and certainly not least, we need 50 Arcanite bars, and these are a little trickier. To make them, we'll need 50 thorium bars, which is the easy part. On top of the bars, we'll also need 50 arcane crystals, which have about a 10% chance to drop from thorium veins, so that will mean quite a bit of grinding to get 50. Next up, we need to use the arcane crystals to transmute the thorium bars into arcanite bars, and to do that, we're going to need 275 alchemy, which I don't have on any of my characters, meaning we're going to have to level that skill up from 0. But once we get all of those things together, we'll be able to craft the Sulfuron Hammer, and then you just combine the Sulfuron Hammer with the Eye of Sulfuras, and you get Sulfuras, the Hand of Ragnaros, the legendary weapon we're after. But with all the requirements now laid out in front of me, I figured I'd just hop into my first week's runs of Molten Core. Oh, in case you didn't know, raids can only be run once a week per character. So since I only have 5 characters high enough level to run Molten Core, I can only run it 5 times a week. That is of course unless I decide to level more characters to run. But anyways, let's get into week 1. Week 1 got underway. The basic goal here was just to kill every boss as fast as possible, while along the way killing trash packs to make sure we got the reagents we needed for the hammer. Also, if I was running on a character that had mining, I would grab whatever dark iron ore I saw. But anyways, let's focus on some of the important drops, and see if we might be able to get lucky with an eye.
Nothing. 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 Nothing.
So after my first 5 runs, we had no eye, which statistically was to be expected. But this also made me realize that if I only had 5 characters running this, it was gonna take a long time. So I decided to level some more characters. And what was nice is since Molten Core is legacy content, to run the raid we only had to level these alts to 40. So throughout the week I leveled a mage, rogue, and a hunter alt, and ran them all through the core.
Nothing. Nothing. Nothing.
So, after all my runs for week 1, here's how we're looking for drops. We have 3 out of 8 sulfuron ingots, 56 out of 160 dark iron ore, 33 out of 25 essence of fire, 3 out of 10 Blood of the Mountain, 18 out of 10 Lava Cores, 24 out of 10 Fiery Cores, and 0 out of 1 Eye of Sulfuras. Honestly, pretty good progress for week 1. But with a couple days left until the reset, I decided to work on some of the outside of Molten Core stuff, starting with the Thorium ore and Arcane Crystals. This grind was rather simple, as there's quite a few zones that are pretty thorium rich. My main options for grinding this out were Ungoro, Silithus, or Winterspring, and I choose to grind this out in Winterspring. All you would do to farm the thorium is just fly in circles around the entire zone and mine all of the deposits you see. And after around 20 minutes of this, I had 174 thorium and 5 arcane crystals. Thorium smelts 1 to 1, so we had plenty more than the 50 we needed. But we still have the problem of needing 50 arcane crystals. So let's look at the math. If we average about 5 arcane crystals every 20 minutes, this full grind would take about 4 hours. Nothing I can really do to make that faster, so it's time to get to work. In the end, this grind only took about 3 hours, rather than the 4 I predicted initially. And after those 3 hours of grinding, we had 50 arcane crystals, 1,142 thorium ore, 1,587 dense stone, and 74 various miscellaneous gems. I actually ended up selling all the extra stuff on the auction house and made around 3k gold, so not that bad of a return. But anyways, after this, I returned to Stormwind and smelted down the thorium ore into the needed bars. Now that I had the bars and the crystals, all I needed was a character with the alchemy level high enough to transmute them into Arcanite bars. And since I didn't have one, I would have to fully level Herbalism and Alchemy on a new character. But being sick of leveling new alts, this was definitely the best way to spend the remaining time I had left in week 1. So here's the game plan. Technically we only need to be level 275 to transmute the bars, but I may as well grind to 300 while I'm at it. And to get there, we'll need the following herbs: 65 Peace Bloom, 65 Silverleaf, 100 Briar Thorns, 35 Bruiseweed, 20 Mage Royal, 50 Strangle Kelp, 35 Life Fruit, 35 King's Blood, 35 Goldthorn, 5 Wild Steel Bloom, 75 Sungrass, 15 Khadgar's Whiskers, 45 Purple Lotus, 60 Blindweed, 75 Golden Sansam, 20 Mountain Silver Sage, and 310 Crystal Vials. Now, this sounds like a lot, and yeah, it is. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. So let's not waste any time and get started on this. I started out in Elwyn Forest, where I gathered up all the Peace Bloom and Silverleaf we would need. Then I bounced around Redridge, Duskwood, and Westfall collecting Briar Thorns, Bruiseweed, Mage Royal, Strangle Kelp, and Wild Steel Bloom. Next up was Stranglethorn, where I went to get Life Fruit, King's Blood, and Khadgar's Whiskers. Next up was a quick trip north to the Hinterlands to get Goldthorn, and after that it was even further north to the Plaguelands for Sungrass. And with that, I was officially done with the Eastern Kingdoms and it was time to head over to Kalimdor. I started off in Felwood, where I got Golden Sansam and Purple Lotus. And I must mention, Purple Lotus was a pain in the ass. It was such a rare spawn. Next was a quick trip to Fairless for Blindweed, and finally Winterspring for our last herb, Winter Silver Sage. This whole process took just over 2.5 hours, and boy was it mind-numbing. With all the herbs gathered though, it was time to actually turn them into potions. So I bought all my vials and got to work. To get to 275 alchemy, I made the following. To bring us from 1 to 60, I made 65 minor healing potions. Then for 60 to 110, I made 35 lesser healing potions. 110 to 140 was 35 regular healing potions. Then for 140 to 155, I made 20 lesser mana potions. 155 to 185, 35 greater healing potions. 185 to 210, 30 elixirs of agility. From 210 to 215, it was 5 elixirs of greater defense. 215 to 230, 15 superior healing potions. 230 to 265, 45 elixirs of Detect Undead. 265 to 285 was 30 superior mana potions. And finally, 285 to 300 was 20 major healing potions. This only took me to 299, but it passed the 275 I needed, so it was good enough. And now we finally had the alchemy level required to transmute our thorium bars. First, I bought a temporary Philosopher's Stone from the alchemy vendor to save me the trouble of making one. Then I traveled to Tenaris and bought the Transmute Arcanite recipe from this guy. And finally, it's transmuting time. And just like that, we officially have the 50 Arcanite bars we needed for the Sulfuron Hammer. Now, at the end of week 1, the only reagents I still needed were Dark Iron Ore, Blood of the Mountain, and Sulfuron Ingots, which I would work on in week 2. first thing I did this week was level some more alts, as the more I have, the quicker we're going to get this eye. So I leveled a Shaman, Druid, Priest, and Paladin alt. But before this week's runs, I wanted to get the Blood of the Mountain I needed, as it's a rare zone drop that only drops from a few enemies in Molten Core. So I ran through the raid a few times without killing any bosses. If you do this, you can actually reset the raid up to 10 times an hour to respawn the trash packs. And after around 50 minutes, I finally had all the Blood of the Mountain I need for the Sulfuron hammer. So now armed with 12 characters, I began my week's runs of Molten Core.
Nothing. 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 Nothing.
Unfortunately, no eye this week, but I did get the remaining Sulfuron ingots I needed, and the only thing stopping us from making the hammer was the dark iron bars. So in order to farm the rest of the ore I needed for the bars, I ran Blackrock Depths over and over again. After around 20 minutes of this, I had all the ore, but then an unexpected roadblock came up. To actually smelt it, you need to learn the recipe for it, and it's not learned from a normal trainer. It's actually learned from one of the bosses in Blackrock Depths, but to learn it, you must give him an offering of 10 true silver bars, 20 gold bars, and 2 star rubies. I guess that means more mining, so I grabbed my pickaxe and got back to work. Luckily I already had the star rubies from the thorium grind and was able to get everything together in around 15 minutes, so I returned and finally learned the recipe. And now it was time to head a little further into Blackrock Depths and smelt my bars at the Black Forge. Now we had it all. Everything we need to make the hammer, except for the recipe itself. But that's simple enough to get. You just go to the Grim Guzzler and show this guy you have a Sulfuron ingot, and he gives the recipe to you. But without further ado, it's time to craft the hammer. And with the hammer obtained, I officially had 50% of what was needed to craft Sulfuras. Now there was nothing left to do but wait until week 3 and run the raid again. And before we get into week 3, I just want to say thanks for watching so far. And if you're enjoying the content, please like and subscribe. Over 80% of people who watch my videos aren't subscribed, so if you could, that would really help out. Anyways, on to week 3. So since we already had the Sulfuron hammer checked off our list, the only thing separating me from my legendary weapon was the Eye of Sulfuras. So nothing to do but to run Molten Core to try to get it.
Nothing. 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 Nothing.
Justice shall be met.
Oh my god, hell yes, oh my god, yes. That actually wasn't even that bad, only 3 weeks is pretty below odds. And I think evokers can actually equip the hammer so I can get the achievement for it too. And now we had both, the hammer and the eye. And all I had to do was combine them. And there it is. And we can actually equip it on this character. Hell yeah. That's so awesome. Oh my god, this took 3 full weeks to do. We get both appearances, so I can actually show this off on other characters, but that is awesome. Man, that feels good to finally get, and I hope you enjoyed my attempt at a cool montage of the weapon. But before we close out here, I'm sure some of you would like to know some data on all of my runs of Molten Core. In total, I did 25 runs of Molten Core. This is counting runs I did after I got the eye, just to see if I could get another one. And in those 25 runs, I completed every single Molten Core transmog set, got 32 pet drops from the Molten Core bosses, 18 Sulfuron ingots, and spent a total of 8.5 minutes listening to Ragnaros' opening monologue. My mission in this video may be achieved, but my ultimate goal is only getting started. You see, I want to collect every legendary still available in retail, so leave a comment and let me know which one you want to see me get next. But with everything said and done, that's where we're going to end the video for today. Hey, so I just wanted to say thank you so much for watching. I know this is a little different from the normal videos I have made, so it might be a little rough around the edges, but I'm sure as I make more, it will get more streamlined and clean. But once again, thank you so much for watching, and please like and subscribe if you enjoyed. Thanks. Bye.